Okay, next up in the core stability series, we've got the Swiss ball prone hip twist. Now this one is going to combine substantial elements of core strength, but combining that with dissociated gluteal muscle function. So the glutes are the massive muscles in the back pocket region, very kind of often talked about, and being able to get them working while other things are being kept active in a core stability point of view, I think it's very important. So that's why I've brought this one into the runners program. It's a challenging exercise for a number of reasons, and I think it's quite obvious when we get into it why it comes after the prone leg pull on the Swiss ball. You've got to be able to hold quite a difficult position to begin with, and then you get into the actual hip twist, and it's very challenging from that point of view. So remember from the previous exercises, like the prone leg pull, that the distance the ball is from your hands when you're in the plank position will affect the difficulty here. So rather than going to the full final distance to start this exercise from scratch, I would always encourage a modification. Now in this one, you're going to have the ball can't be under the thighs, for reasons that will become clear, to make room for the hip twist. So you're really starting with the ball under the shins for this essentially level one of this movement. So you're going to bring yourself up onto the Swiss ball, or bring the legs up onto the Swiss ball, and then it's a question of just getting nicely grounded. Now remember, before you get up, the width of the hands is important. The wider the hands, the more supported you'll feel, and that will give you a slightly better base of support. Just as with the other exercise in this position, you've got to stop the spine sagging. So that's why I said in that prone leg pull to pull the belt line towards your rib cage and to activate those kind of planking muscles, those core muscles. Now, to begin this movement, you have to be able to bring the leg off the ball. And from that position, you're going to tuck it down so that the foot just finishes either next to the ball or just on the leg. So for the modification with the ball under the shin, you do have the option of placing that foot on the ball, and then keeping the ball as still as you can, you perform your opening hip twist. And then you come back down. So this is asking the hip rotators and the glutes to open up the knee into a hip twist while dissociating that from a plank. So try and make the movement smooth. You're breathing out as you go up, breathing in as you come back. Now, with the foot on the ball, you're going to get quite a lot of respite, quite a lot of ease in the movement, but you'll still have that core stability challenge. What you're aiming for on the progression is where you can't do that and the foot is being suspended kind of its own accord. So for that, you're going to have to bring the feet into play over the ball. And you've got the ball underneath your ankles. And then the challenge is much greater. And this will really test that core strength while doing your hip twist. So that's a difficult one. I certainly feel like I'm working pretty hard on that movement. And for that reason, you've got to make sure that the fundamentals are good. If you want to really progress on with that one, you can do it with the tiptoe position on the ball, and that's just going to really add to that core challenge. Now, what you've got to be aware of when you're doing the hip twist in this position is that you're not sacrificing your neutral pelvic alignment, either in the kind of longitudinal plane, which we've covered. You don't want that spine arching towards the floor, hence why you think about the belt line to rib cage being knitted together with those abdominal muscles helping. But critically also in the rotary plane, as you perform your hip twist, there doesn't want to be any tilting in the pelvis, which would denote a loss of core stability. So this exercise ticks so many boxes, and I think that's why it's challenging. And don't forget also that the single leg holding you on the ball while you perform the hip twist with the gesture leg, there's some really good inner range quadriceps work going on. So There's a lot of different aspects and angles you could come at this exercise from, but don't be under any illusion. It's a tricky one. If you're going to do it smoothly, controlled, little movement, if possible, no movement in the ball, maintaining a neutral alignment and getting that dissociated hip twist, it's quite a high level exercise, I think, and most of the runners I give this to really struggle with that one to start with. Of course, you're comparing and contrasting side to side, so you would see what you can do on one side, switch to the other side, but don't try and hit arbitrary targets with an exercise like this. You're looking for quality of movement, so thinking about those key Pilates principles, moving smoothly with your hip twist, moving it with your breath, just your natural breath pattern, and making sure you're never shaking and bouncing the ball, adjusting where you have the ball in terms of the distance from your hands, and even in the kind of basic first level we went into, it's still a difficult one. So the Swiss ball prone hip twist, great core stability exercise, really exploits weaknesses and really pushes you on to quite a difficult level of exercise. Anyway, that's probably as hard as it gets in this series. We've got a few more exercises to cover, so we'll go through those in just a moment.